drama of Indra trying to steal the horse and Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavan Atha Vishwatma Prituno Paritaranaha Samujjihanaya Bhaktya Grihita Charanambujaha Bhagavanata Vishwatma Prituno Paritaranaha Samujjihanaya Bhaktya Grita Charanambujaha. Synonyms, word by word. You can also see them on the screen. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atha, thereupon. Vishwa Atma, the Super Soul. Prituna, by King Pritu. Uparita, being offered. Aranaha, all the paraphernalia for worship. Samujjihanaya, gradually increased. Bhaktya, whose devotional service. Grihita, taken. Charana Ambuja, his lotus feet. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. King Prithu abundantly worshipped the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was so merciful to him. While worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Prithu Maharaj gradually increased his ecstasy in devotional service. Purport. When various ecstasies appear in the body of a devotee, it is to be understood that his devotional service has become perfect. There are many types of transcendental ecstasies in the forms of crying, laughing, perspiring, falling down physically falling down, not spiritually falling down, and crying like a madman. All these symptoms are sometimes visible on the body of a devotee. They are called Ashta Sattvika Vikar, which means 8 kinds of transcendental transformations. They are never to be imitated. But when a devotee actually becomes perfect, these symptoms are visible on his body. The Lord is Bhakta Vatsala, which means that he is inclined toward his pure devotees, Bhakta. Therefore, the transcendental, ecstatic transaction between the Supreme Lord and his devotee is never like the activities of this material world. Homa Yajna Tiviranda Segaranjana Salakaya Chakshuramitamna Tasmai Shiguri Nom Shabda Krishna Sabdash Manchavatakasamani Tinamina Mocharbadani Tagribadi Kragatam Mom Vishabadai Krishna Vestai Budale Shimadi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada is focusing on the purport on the bodily transformations that happen when one reaches the stage of bhava. Sadhana bhakti is the process by which we are meant to reach the bhava stage, which is the preliminary stage of pure love of God. There is sadhana, bhava, and prema. So, the nectar of devotion explains that these are symptoms of bhava, symptoms of ecstasy, and they are spontaneous. Srila Prabhupada talks here about, he says that they are never to be imitated. Unfortunately, there is a whole army of people through the generations, since 500 years, who are making a business of imitating those symptoms. So today we will discuss about the different apasampradayas. And we start with this, but then we go also to the Neo-Smartas, because I was requested to talk about the Neo-Smarta, and I thought this verse seamlessly links to that topic. So these bodily expressions are bona fide when they are natural, when they spring from emotion, spiritual emotion. This crying, sometimes even crying like a madman, not just crying few little drops of tears, crying like a madman, or laughing, perspiring, sometimes rolling on the floor. And of course, our Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed all these symptoms of ecstasy in a super excellent, superlative, incomparable, and inimitable way. Now, what's I found very relevant and very interesting is that Rupa Goswami, after listing these bhava symptoms, he talks about the anubhavas, the other symptoms of one in bhava. And it's crucial because the symptoms, the bodily symptoms, can be imitated. I can do it right now. I can start rolling on the floor. Krishna, Krishna, where are you, Krishna? I'm in separation. Oh, I'm dying. A good actor can show everything. As you know, actors can also cry, actually produce tears. Good actors can connect so much to a part. They cry, they physically cry. So, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about those anubhavas. Here I have from the Nectar of Devotion. Is it big enough you can read? Okay. So this is chapter 18 of the Nectar of Devotion. Nectar of Devotion, as you know, is a summative study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. And Srila Prabhupada sort of cropped out all the Sanskrit, translated everything, not all the Sanskrit, but most of Sanskrit, and he kept the things in English. So we'll read the character of one in ecstatic love. Rupa Goswami next describes the characteristic of a person who has actually developed his ecstatic love for Krishna. The characteristics are as follows. He is always anxious to utilize his time in the devotional service of the Lord. He does not like to be idle. He wants service always, 24 hours a day, without deviation. 2. He is always reserved and perseverant. Perseverant. Another translation is tolerant. In other words, he doesn't stop when there are obstacles. And reserve means he also interiorizes his feeling. It's controlled, sober. 3, he is always detached from all material attraction. By the way, thank you for asking, because sometimes there is a gap in communication, lost in translation, and sometimes we speak words and sometimes the audience doesn't understand, and it's very frustrating. So thank you. If you don't understand anything, please bring it up. 3, is always detached from all material attraction. 4, he does not long for any material respect in return for his activities. 5, he is always certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. 6, he is always very eager to serve the Lord faithfully. 7, is very much attached to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. 8, is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. 9, he is very pleased to live in a place where the Lord's pastimes are performed. For instance, Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwaraka, or Simhachalam. So, if you like, I can show you the Sanskrit. This is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami, with purpose by Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is a translation by His Holiness Bhanu Maharaj. And this is a famous Sanskrit. This concept, Srila Prabhupada brings them up many times in lectures. Kshantir avyartha kalatvam viraktir manashunyata ashabhanda samutkanta namagani sadaruchihi. Asakti stad gunakyane priti stad vasati stale iti adayo nubhava sur jatha bhavankure jane. So, jatha, they're born, the symptoms are born, bhavankure. Ankure is actually a botanical term, means a sprout, a bud, the beginning of growth. So when the bhava, the ecstasy, the stage of bhava, manifests, these people, jane, are showing not only the physical transformation, but this, and again, these are more important because this cannot be imitated, or it cannot be imitated in a sustained way. I read this translation because it brings up other flavors. The anubhavas, or characteristics of a person who has developed the bud of bhava, are as follows. Tolerance, kshantir. Not wasting time, avyartha kalatvam. Detachment from enjoyment, viraktir. Pridelessness, mana shunyata. Shunyata means zero, like he doesn't have any pride. Then, confidence in the Lord's mercy, asha bandhaha. Longing for the Lord, samutkanta. Taste for chanting the Lord's holy name, namaghane sadaruchi. He's always as the ruchi, the taste for chanting. Who is that? Attachment to discussing the Lord's transcendental quality, asaktis tad gunakyane, and attachment to living in the abode of the Lord, tad vasati stale. He wants to stay in the place connected to the Lord. Okay, so this is real devotion. This is an advanced state of devotion. This is bhava. It's considered already perfection of devotion, even though it's not exactly prema. The analogy is given that bhava is like the first rays of the sun. You're not seeing the full disk of the sun, but you see the first rays. So you can see it's already morning, it's already full of light, but the sun is not fully risen. So similarly, prema may not be fully risen, but bhava is very high. So because it's very high, naturally people who know about bhakti worship, venerate, respect people who have those symptoms. That's why, as I said before, many people imitate those symptoms. Because they get followers, because they get respect, because they get prestige. So, Suotra Maharaj, some of you may not know him. In fact, he left this world, but he was a great intellectual, great writer. Wrote a whole book entitled Apa Sampradayas, Deviation of Disciplic Successions. It's a book you can find online for free in different places, actually. This is the version that they have at suotraswami.net. Suotra Swami, he might have been at one point the GBC of Simhachalam. Not sure. Yes? No. Maybe not. But he was GBC of Czech Republic, Austria, and many other countries, Poland. Okay, so he writes this book. It's a short book, 49 pages, describing the Apa Sampradayas. You know the meaning of Sampradaya? It's a disciplic succession that communicates, transmits the message of the Lord. Apa means against, opposite. Just like we say aparadha, we translate with offenses. Literally means what is against aradha. Aradhana is worship. So aparadha is what against worship. So Apa Sampradaya is a deviant form of Sampradaya. I mean, they have their own successions of gurus, so-called gurus, whatever. But they are not in line with Lord Chaitanya. And these particular ones, they are considered particularly among the followers of Lord Chaitanya. Because Lord Chaitanya introduced this ecstatic bhakti, or at least popularized it, and his disciples like Srila Rupa Goswami spoke about this. But people connected with the wrong motivations, not of service, but of being worshipped, of bringing attention to themselves. So we're not going to discuss all the 13 Apasampradaya, because that's a seminar in itself. But we could say that of all these sampradayas, we could divide basically them into two categories: the elitists and the populists. The elitists are those, and there are a couple, Jata Goswami, caste Goswami, and the smartas, the caste brahmanas. Those are elitists in the sense they claim a special privilege to worship. Some groups claim exclusivity of giving initiation. In the Nectar of Devotion, for instance, Srila Prabhupada explained about the Nityananda Vamsha. They say we are descendants of Nityananda, and we are the only ones who can give initiation. Nobody else can give initiation. They do. They have this type of claims. So that's like Jata Goshai. Jata means by birth, and Goshani means Goswami, but again by birth. Sometimes they're not Goswami at all. They don't control the senses at all. So this is the problem. That sometimes, this is one of the problems, that sometimes these people, not only this Jati Goswami and Smarta, all of them, actually more the other ones, Prakrita Sahajas and so on, they don't follow sometimes even the basic four regulative principles. They live lives of dissolution sometimes. They mix. For instance, the Prakrita Sahaja. Sahaja, what does it mean, Sahaja? You might have heard this word because sometimes we use this word, no Sahajas. Literally means, Saha means with, Aja means born, means something spontaneously born. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong if something is really born spontaneously from the heart, from spiritual emotion, from bhakti. But he, and of course his followers, characterize it as prakrita sahaja. In other words, it's materialistic. So here, Sutra Maharaj writes, cheap pseudo-devotees. In other words, they show a lot of bhakti, a lot of emotion, but sometimes they don't even follow the regulative principles. There was a case in the early 70s when Vrindavan, the holy Vrindavan, our Vrindavan, had become a place of dissolution, more and immorality. There is still immorality in dissolution, but before was very prominent, even more prominent. Srila Prabhupada said that no gentleman from Delhi would bring his daughter to Vrindavan. That was the reputation of the place. And there was an epidemic of unwanted pregnancies. Women would go, or widows living there will associate, I'm using a euphemism, will associate with Babajis, and there was an epidemic of pregnancies. Such a big problem it was that it came to the desk of the Prime Minister of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. So you have the Prime Minister of the largest democracy in the world who had to think at one point what to do with this problem. So she did something very drastic. You know what she did? This is history. She sent an army of policemen. They grabbed all the Babajis and forcefully sterilized them. Too much is too much. And of course, Srila Prabhupada criticized her for doing that because they must have also caught some some real sadhu, some real Babaji, some real devotee. And so it's a great offense, Can you imagine the trauma? You're sitting there chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. They grab you, okay, and they snap, and then. So Srila Prabhupada said she fell from political power. At one point she fell from prime ministership due to the offenses she did to the Babaji. Now, I made the research. That's the only thing that Srila Prabhupada ever said that resembles something positive about the Babajis. That's the only, you could take it as kind of positive. But the point is that it was such a situation that the Prime Minister of India had to intervene personally. So and this is, the immorality is mostly, almost exclusively among the other the ones I define as populists. They're not very, generally, there are many, many subdivisions. Even Prakrita Sajas, there are so many different shades and flavors. But generally, they're not very educated. They're not very theological. They're not very intellectuals. They come from very simple groups, like lower castes. And they speculate. No, like the Gauranga Nagaris, for instance. Gauranga Nagaris, what's the problem is, they take Gauranga as Krishna and themselves as gopis. So the whole mood is against Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, he comes in the mood of a gopi, and they want to be gopis with him as Krishna. So it's a complete deviation. Sakibeki. Sakibeki, for instance, they dress as gopis. They're men. They're men. And they dress as gopis with saris. Sometimes they don't even look good, frankly speaking. So they dress as gopis and they dance, and they think that by dressing as gopis they will attract Krishna. Like that. No, so many. Kartabhaja, worshippers of Guru as God. They take the Guru is God. Then there is mixture with, sometimes in this sects there is mixture with Islam. There is mixture with Buddhism. It's a circus. And there are many, many, many. In fact, one of the main obstacles of preaching in West Bengal, we could say obviously it's easier to preach in West Bengal than in Germany, but one of the main obstacles is that many, many, many people are initiated by these people. So when you go there, I'm already have the guru. Some gurus eat fish. Anyway, all sorts of things, I tell you. And many are initiated by the caste Goswamis. Many initiated by caste Goswami. It's an initiation that doesn't mean much. It's like in Christianity, some of us come from a Christian background. You take baptism or you take communion, first communion. It has some meaning, but not much. Not much. Especially baptism when you are 6 days old. So, a little water on the head, now you're Christian. So similarly, in fact, even Srila Prabhupada, as a child, was initiated by some of these people, one person, and but he didn't take it seriously because it was it was a cultural thing. You take initiation as part of being Hindu, part of being Gaudiya. So you're Vaishnava, you take some form of initiation. Okay, so these are the two basic categories. I was asked to talk about the neo-smartas. So I thought we'll talk today because somewhat it's in the same constellation. Smartas. What are the smartas? What does it mean, smarta? Smarta, the word is actually very innocent. Smarta simply means those who follow the smriti. The smriti. And Srila Rupa Goswami says we should follow Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Adi. We should follow Shruti, the Vedas, the Smriti, like the Puranas and different other texts like Mahabharata, even Gita in one sense is Smriti. So, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhin Vinaha. We should follow Pancharatra and everything. The problem is that there are several problems. The Smartas overemphasize rules and regulations over practical devotional service. And also traditionally, they use other Smritis. Because there are hundreds of Smritis, hundreds of texts. So they use other Smriti than the Vaishnavas. In fact, you can read this book by Sutra Maharaj. He explained, he gives titles of what Smritis, the Smartas. Now, the term Neo-Smartas refers to devotees, and I emphasize, I call them devotees in ISKCON. The Smarta, they have their own life, their own ecosystems. In fact, Smartas, they claim they come from Shankaracharya. So just by that, they are an Apa Sampradaya, because there are only 4 authentic Sampradayas. So if you follow Shankaracharya, by definition, you are an Apa Sampradaya. But there are many Smartas outside of ISKCON, of course, the vast majority. In fact, in South India, there are many. Anybody from South India? Where are you from? Okay. But in South India, like you have by surname, the Iyer Brahmanas are Smartas. And generally they worship Shiva, but ultimately they're impersonalists. Some they worship Vishnu, some they have Shalakam Shilas. So there is this book which I wrote, and you can download for free in archive.org. You can download it for free. It's called Neo-Smartas, ISKCON's Greatest Danger. Now, for some of you, this topic may be completely new, because you may not have them here in Germany. And so you say, why ISKCON Greatest Danger? What's the problem? Who are these people? What they say? What they do? But I consider them the greatest danger of ISKCON, because their way of presenting Krishna consciousness or Vedic culture is an eclipsing of the mood of Lord Chaitanya, the egalitarian mood of Lord Chaitanya, and the mood of Srila Prabhupada and the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. And they take from here and there. Very often they quote things which Srila Prabhupada did not stress so much, like the Manu Samhita. Manu Samhita, Srila Prabhupada legitimizes the Manu Samhita as a body of knowledge for social, moral, and also the Acharyas. At the same time, there are many problems with the Manu Samhita. First of all, is the version we have now. Let's be very, very clear on this. The Manu Samhita available to us is not the Manu Samhita compiled by Swayambhuva Manu or Vaivashvata Manu. There is some, we could say, fragments of some root, but as being manipulated. For instance, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in Shri Krishna Samhita, right in the introduction, that the Manu Samhita and other Shastras, so not only the Manu Samhita, has been manipulated to deny Daiva Varnashram, that means social positions based on quality, say spiritual meritocracy, and instead they shifted to what is called Asura Varnashram, where everything is depending on birth. In fact, the Manu Samhita itself says that if you are not a Dvija, means Vaishya, Kshatriya or Brahmana by birth, you cannot even touch the Manusamhita. But some devotees, I may or may not say any names, but that's a detail, okay? Because today they're here, tomorrow they're not. So I'm not particularly interested in the names. I'm interested in the concept. Some devotees, in their propagation of Neo-Smartaism, they quote a lot about the Manusamhita. So in this way, they eclipse the standard scriptures, like Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, and Bhagavad Gita, yes. So Srila Prabhupada said those 4 books are enough. Doesn't mean that we cannot touch anything else, but those are the pillars of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, understanding of theology, philosophy, and whatever we need to propagate the movement, Srila Prabhupada says, is there. Therefore, I wrote another book, also a free download, What's Wrong with the Manusamhita? So I list issues. And again, I'm not talking about the original Manusamhita, I'm talking about the editions, the versions that we have. And some of these devotees whom I define neo-smartas, not only they quote Manusamhitas, they are also enthusiastically quote one atheistic commentator, Medhatiti, is the most famous commentator of the Manusamhita. You can find this commentary free online. And he's an atheist. He's a karma mimamsak. I understand I'm introducing many concepts that some of you may not be familiar with. But karma mimamsak are the traditional, among the traditional enemies of Vaishnavism. Karma mimamsa means atheism with a belief in reincarnation. They follow the Vedas, but they don't believe in God. They just think that the Vedas are meant to do rituals so that we can elevate to Swarga, enjoy our senses, and then it's an eternal cycle of rituals and enjoyment. That's the karma mimamsa. In fact, this Medhatiti fellow, the Manusamhita originally, of course, is a theocentric scripture. The first chapter talks about Narayana, how Narayana creates the world, how Brahma is instructed and all that. Medhatiti says, why do we need this first chapter? We are here to discuss rules, regulation, laws, jurisdiction. Why you have to bring this thing of Narayana? Anyway, he says, Narayana, Shiva, Brahma, it's all the same. It's just names. So he says we should just dump the whole first chapter. And unfortunately, some devotees quote Medhatiti as an authority. So again, here we are very far from India. And again, maybe you never heard about these problems, but it's a major problem because of a reason. I read something from Suotra Maharaj, and this was written more than 30 years ago. So he was very... There are also many illustrations here. Look at this. Can you read? If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. Okay. And they are all enemies. I mean, these are the traditional enemies of the Sampradaya. All of them. All of them. In fact, you may have heard that they tried to kill Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Physically, they paid the corrupted. They tried to corrupt policemen. He was totally corrupted, but he didn't want to kill a sadhu. So he warned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But practically, they are the cultural descendants of the same people, unless they are the same people who are born now. But that's we cannot prove. So let's read one thing from Suotra Maharaj. I don't know if you can see it. Can you read it? Yes? The late Sotra Swami wrote in his book 13 Apasampradaya, I have undertaken this work out of a firm belief that these 13 cases are archetypal of all sorts of misinterpretations of the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that have been seen down to this very day. The smarta contamination as a subtle side that ISKCON devotees should do well to familiarize themselves with. It is a shift of values more than of behavior or even philosophy. The achar of a strict smarta brahmana and a strict Vaishnava may externally be hardly distinguishable. But the consciousness is completely different. When we talk about, say, the neo-smartas, in fact, I tell you, because I know them personally, they are sometimes very strict, very rigorous. Their family life often is exemplary in terms of steadiness. The chief neo-smartas are very stable in their family life. They don't have divorce. They dress as Vaishnavas, they shave up. And that makes them more dangerous, in my opinion. Welcome. No problem. No problem. In other words, you see, Sahajiyas, frankly speaking, we also have Sahajiyas in ISKCON. We have people who go around and they make a show of singing and all that, but sometimes they don't follow any principle. I'm not saying that those devotees who travel and like the what we call today kirtaniyas, I'm not saying that kirtaniyas are Sahajiyas. I'm not saying, I need to say 3 times, okay? I'm not saying that all kirtaniyas are Sahajiyas. I'm not saying that. But there are some who are. At the same time, in one sense, these are all very delicate, so I need to use tentative words. In one sense, they're less dangerous for 2 reasons. First of all, because they're easy to pick out. Now, if you have people who come and then they say start smoking ganja or the corresponding marijuana, grass, whatever you call it, or they start having illicit affairs in the barn or somewhere, then you cannot take them very seriously. In fact, probably you'll kick them out. But, they have a limited magnetism. And also, they are generally institutionally agnostics. They say, no, these temples, it's all external, the holy name is everything. So the tendency is they take as much advantage as possible of the temples and the management and the organization, but then they say, no, what is this organization? No, like that. So they have a limited power. Although some of them, they are insidious, especially because apparently so many youths, so many kids are kind of enamored by the whole phenomenon. And again, some kirtaniyas, I know personally, they're very strict sadhakas, exemplary sadhakas, but others are not. Let's put it like this. But these neo-smartas are very rigorous, are very impeccable externally, morally. But they introduce ideas which are completely incompatible. And to promote their ideas, they are even willing to split ISKCON, destroy Srila Prabhupada's movement. I'll give you an example. By the way, there are also interesting interesting illustrations here. Neos Marta is, we should slay this monster or it will destroy us. Yes, but don't call it monster. Use a softened term. Anyway, so let's see here. I want to go to a page. This comment was shared by a very, very senior and demonstrably very intelligent guru. I cannot say the name because it is from a private conference, but I share what he says because the point is this. This is someone personally trained by Srila Prabhupada. He wrote. Can you read? Because some of these Neo-Smartas, you might have heard it, but some of these Neo-Smartas wanted to break the movement. They say, we will create a schism if the GBC accepts women Diksha Gurus. Okay, I sincerely believe that the fanatical opponents of Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus, in fact, faithfully represent the traditional historical enemies of the Vaishnavas, the fanatical Smartas. These people have harassed the true Vaishnavas for many centuries, quoting obscure technical rules, denying the right of everyone to advance fully in Krishna consciousness, insisting that birth plays a crucial role in determining spiritual hierarchy. Obsessed with the bodies of other Vaishnavas, determined to lord it over those with inappropriate births and bodies, these hypocrites have long been the enemies of true Vaishnavism. The treacherous demonic threats of these people to shatter ISKCON, in fact, reveal their true identity. I understand that my strong language may not be appropriate for diplomacy and negotiation, but someone has to speak this truth. And this is a real thing. You may have heard about this controversy about women Diksha Gurus. And finally, after many years, after several resolutions, the GBC said, no, we will have women Diksha Gurus. And in an appeasing motion, they say, but you can claim cultural sensitivity and ban Vaishnavi Diksha Guru in your country. So if the National Council come together, I don't know, 10 people, 8 people, 15 people, come together and say, we don't want women Diksha Gurus, you will not have women Diksha Guru in those countries. Whatever that means. It's not that they cannot step inside, but whatever that means. Okay? So that was my understanding, is to pacify these people. But these people were not pacified. They say, no, it's not that we don't want only in India. We don't want them anywhere. And if you approve of this, we will go. We'll take all the ISKCON temples away in India, away. Now, if they can do that or not, it's a different discussion. I personally don't think they have the power or the influence to do that. But they threaten to do it. These are real things. So they're threatening to split ISKCON over their opinion, which, by the way, is completely against Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, theology, history, Srila Prabhupada instructions, and everything. But they don't care. They are Pasampradayas, what do they care? So this is a real danger. Okay, so then finally in 2019, the GBC said, we will discuss this at least 2019, at least 15 years we are discussing this. So it's approved. But they say, no, at least have a moratorium. At least stop for some time. So somehow they got this moratorium for 3 years. And in October, that means in a couple of months, this moratorium ends. What will happen? Don't ask me, ask some astrologer or some prophet. Anyway, so discussions are going on, debates are going on. But this attitude, which is against Gaudiya Vaishnavism, because Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we had dozens of women Diksha Gurus throughout the centuries, and no Acharya word of his name ever spoke against the phenomenon, which obviously they knew. So this has been the catalyst. Because, of course, these neo-smartas, they cannot talk openly about birth. In fact, the leaders are from the West. They're born in America and other places. So they cannot really talk about the birth of a Brahman because they're born as militias. So they cannot play the card. So they play the card of bodily consciousness. Now, women cannot be gurus and so on and so forth. So, talking about women. My wife is not going to give the seminar today because she realized that she has another commitment at 5 o'clock with ISKCON Africa, and she has to give it. So I will give the seminar, if you don't mind, 5 o'clock. And you got my message about what we should talk about? Because more or less, we covered the things you have kind of highlighted. So I wanted to discuss what... Look, one topic which is very important and is Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus. You like to have a little seminar today on Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus, 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30? We can talk about that. See, Bhakti Viksha, it's a sophisticated system of congregational development. I've been promoting it for years. That was my main service for years. But at one point, I realized that without experience, without many people, they don't know how to do it, even if they know the theory. I'm not saying we should not talk about Bhakti Viksha. I'm not saying you will not be able to do it. But it's mostly for urban development, urban congregational development. We could talk, maybe we could talk in, I don't know, in private about Bhakti Viksha and see what you want to take from Bhakti Viksha. Huh? So today it's okay we talk about Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus? Or you heard enough in the last few years? No, enough. Huh? Yeah, I mean, there is a bunch of topics. Now, I'm thinking of Vaishnavi Diksha Guru because it's very much connected to the Neo-Smarta thing. That has been the catalyst for Neo-Smartas to really take a stand, to come out. And they started misinterpreting Sanskrit, misinterpreting texts. They brought up evidence that doesn't make any sense. So that's like we could say, the real battlefield between Gaudiya Vaishnavism and Neo-Smartas, means those who are in ISKCON. That's a real battlefield. So there's a lot of social, historical, theological dimensions in that. But if you're not so interested, maybe we could do something. We could discuss after this, and then we'll figure out. Huh? But 5 o'clock, we'll have something. We have many presentations for you. If nothing else, I can imitate the ecstasy rolling on the floor and crying. That could be very entertaining, you know. I may even get some followers, who knows. Okay, anyway, this is an introduction to the theme. I was asked to talk about Neo Smartas. This is a very, very, very short introduction. Is there any question? We have some time for questions? Okay. Do you like to grab the mic?
What about the second initiation? I heard recently that some ISKCON gurus are kind of don't give second initiation to some of their disciples when they don't come from a proper background or something. Is this also?
Good that you say some ISKCON guru. Maybe everybody knows the name, but it's okay. Fine. Yes, that's part of it. There is one ISKCON guru who, for instance, at one point at least, I don't know today, but at one point stopped giving all the 7 mantras of second initiation. How many of you are second initiated? Okay. So you have 7 mantras. You receive 7 mantras at first initiation. And this guru said, no, the women should only get 6.
Which one not?
The Brahma Gayatri.
Brahma Gayatri.
Yeah, the first one. The Brahma Gayatri should not be given to women. And no, they have their own theories and this and that. But Srila Prabhupada gave all the 7 mantras to women. And he did it for more than 9 years. So there is the old paper by the SAC. The SAC is the Shastric Advisory Committee, group of scholars, about this, the Brahma Gayatri, and why we should follow the founder Acharya, and so on. I don't have it open, but I can share it if you want. And the other thing about this particular guru is that at one point he claimed that those who work jobs, say 9 to 5, they're salaried men, cannot take a second initiation because they're technically Shudras, things like that. So these are tangible examples of how this type of mentality affects the movement of Lord Chaitanya. It goes directly against our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Now, obviously, if somebody has only the qualities of a Shudra, so he's dirty, cannot get up in the morning, can't chant his rounds, he can't follow the principle, sleeps all day, or just, then of course he's not qualified to take second initiation. But the fact that somebody has a job, has a honest job, as a data scientist or as an IT professional or as anything, a shopkeeper, that doesn't preclude the person from taking second initiation if he or she has developed Brahminical qualities, cleanliness, austerity, following the rules, morality, knowledge, and so on. So that's another headache for the GBC, yes.
What about the story that Prabhupada was forced to give ladies?
Yes, there is a whole chapter here about that. This book, some people like this book. Some people hate it, of course. But some people, there is a whole chapter on that. Yeah, they have all sorts of theories. We'll come to that. But one theory is that women have no varnas. Have you heard that? Women have no varnas. Varna means color. So women are transparent. They have no color. Anyway, it's all nonsense. I mean, in Jyotish, in astrology, one of the things you see is the varna of the man and the varna of the woman. And there is the whole discussion of anuloma and pratiloma marriages. If the woman caste is higher and is lower is pratiloma. If the man is higher, then it's anuloma, it's acceptable. So how can you say that the woman doesn't have varna? If you have gunas, you have varnas. Chaturvarnya mahashistam guna karma vibhakashaha. So anyway, they invent all sorts of things. So therefore I'm saying the role of women, not only Diksha Guru, but the role of women, initiation for women, even the species of women. What species do they belong? That's the battlefield. But in particular to your question, where is it? It's the whole chapter. There is more here. There is more here. It's debunking the Boston rebellion myth. Under 35. It's interesting. So the theory is as follows: that in Boston, in May 1968, why does it move? Anyway, I'll tell you, okay? In Boston, in 1968, was the first time the Srila Prabhupada was giving sacred initiation in the West. He had given to Kirtananda sannyas in India. But, so, what happened is that he gave initiation, and he gave initiation over 3 days. So the first night, he didn't have any women. So the theory is that Srila Prabhupada was forced by the protest of women to give them sacred initiation. And they threatened him, we will leave ISKCON if we don't give us sacred initiation. This is the legend. But nobody was present, either men or women, ever said something like that. In fact, there are still the 3 women who took sacred initiation, Govinda Dasi, Jadurani Dasi, and another one, I don't remember the name, is written. They never said something like that. In fact, they never expressed anything to Srila Prabhupada. And the theory that they invented, the myth that they invented, is that Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada is so weak, is so under control of people, already that is a huge insult to the founder Acharya. But basically they say that he was like that threatened by these young girls, young Americans, feminists, and so then he basically capitulated and gave them initiation. But they say, the Neo-Smartas say, actually he did not want to do it. He did it for more than 9 years without interruption, without change, without any modification, but actually he did not want. Therefore, we who are really pure and really Vedic, we should stop it. It's an anomaly. So they created this whole legend, this whole myth out of thin air. It's fantastic. I mean, it's really something. And I saw many devotees who got influenced by that, because they hear it. They were not there. They don't know. They didn't see we could say the biographical accounts. They didn't hear the tapes and so on. So they don't know. Yes. It's okay for now? Yes.
Related to this, because I read the first time about it in Satsarup Maharaja's biography. He mentions that event in a similar, not as drastic as they presented, but in a similar way, actually.
He says that they were upset. Yeah. But they say that they were upset for different reasons. Even if they were upset, Srila Prabhupada or any Acharya is not going to change the system of initiation because a few girls are upset. So the concept that Srila Prabhupada contaminated the process of initiation because few American girls were upset is absurd.
But why were they
Well, see, they're upset in different ways. If you listen to Govinda Dasi, for instance, she was upset, for instance, that Srila Prabhupada was not feeling well, and they were keeping him late at night. They might also have been upset that they were not getting the first day. Maybe they didn't know that there was a second day and a third day of initiations. So they might have been upset, but to say that the standard of Diksha in the Sampradaya has been changed because 3 girls were upset, it's a huge aparad. Srila Prabhupada, for instance, many times said that women cannot take sannyas. He said several times in different ways, that the social aspect of sannyas, of course, everybody can dedicate fully to the Lord, mind, words, and body. But he said women cannot take sannyas. It's a social thing, it's a social identity, and it's not for women. Full stop. He said it. He never said anything like that. They cannot become guru, they cannot become psycho-initiated. Neo-Smartas, they even came up with the idea, and it's in a biography, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started giving psycho-initiation to women because one lady in Calcutta pushed him. It's there, black and white. Imagine, if you know anything about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Shimha Guru, the Guru Lion, so uncompromising, so fearless, so in your face with everyone in India, with everyone. Now, because one lady in Calcutta pushed, then he changed the Sampradaya system. So these devotees, I call them devotees because they're devotees, they're chanting Hare Krishna, they really don't know what they're talking about. Last year, should we stop or can we go a few minutes more? Huh? So last year there was a Communications Europe Convention, international, in Radhadesh. And one topic was women Diksha Gurus. So they invited me to speak, and they wanted also somebody from the other side. Not that the organizer had any doubt, okay? But they wanted also to hear the other side. So they invited one devotee who is a disciple of that guru who does this thing, and is a member of the ISKCON India Scholars Board, which has never been established by any real ISKCON. That's a different thing. So they say, come. And he tried to get a visa. And he tried to get a visa for Belgium, and they gave him what you call presentation, recommendation, invitation, all the papers. But he did not only want to come to Radhadesh, he also wanted to come here, to Simhachalam. You remember, right? So somehow he did not get the visa, and he stayed in India. Now, I'm not saying that Nishingadeva didn't want to see his face. I'm not saying this. Did you hear me saying that? No. I will never say that Nishingadeva wasn't willing to see him. I'm not saying it, and I will never say it. But somehow he didn't get the visa. And he gave an online presentation. And the presentation was really, the people were Communications Europe, you got very intelligent people, very learned senior devotees. There were maybe 6 Srila Prabhupada disciples, all there. And people were kind of perplexed with what this man is talking about. One devotee came to me. He said, you see, he's a very good Hindu. He's a very good Hindu. Ironically, no? It's not really a good Vaishnava. It's really. And he started saying, we need to go through Shastra. And then he never quoted any Shastra. because there is no Shastra that talks about against that. So, anyway, I've been dealing with this for years. So I'm a specialist. We can talk more, but I don't know if you like more to talk about the Neo Smartas or you like more Nishingadev Mahaprasad at breakfast. So I don't know. I'm here. If you want to talk more, we talk more, or we go for breakfast.
Unless there's a specific question, somebody.
Are you giving more presentations?
Yeah, to the evening at 5.
And more? Or this is then
Oh, we decided?
I think so.
It's okay? 5 o'clock, Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus. I can give you the presentation I gave in Radhadesh. It was a short presentation, 25 minutes. So I augmented it with some more, and then we can open the discussion. And it will probably also bring us to this New Smarta thing, because they are the ones who are against women Diksha Gurus. I'm not saying that whoever is against a women Diksha Guru is a Neo Smarta. I'm not presenting this theorem. But they are the ones who are deadly against, and they're willing to break ISKCON apart if the GBC keeps approving the idea. So we can talk about that, 5 o'clock? Okay? I mean, even if you don't have a strong opinion or not great interest, it's social theology, it's part of our tradition, so we talk about it, and of course it would be even less formal, because I would not be sitting on a Vyasasan, and so if you have other opinions, we'll smash you. We'll discuss it, and openly, almost democratically. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Apa Sampradaya ki? They fell for it. See, this is ritualism. When you do something, you don't know what you're doing, but you do it because, when